Hello, everyone. Ryan Carpenter here with No BS Golf, presented by P45 Knuckle Down Golf. Well, I don't know about where you all are at, but down here in the South, spring is playing a joke on us. It went from some great, perfect weather days, and down here, pollen just flies in the air. It's like half the air. You like breathe it in. It's everywhere. Yellow pollen all over the ground. It's crazy. And then all of a sudden, two freezes, and we're right back to cold. So hopefully this is going away soon, especially with, guess what, Masters coming up soon. So anyhow, wanted to cover some things this morning. It is spring, and for most recreational players, I mean, especially further up north where you have those longer winters, everybody tends to put the clubs down, sometimes 6 months at a time, which is a terrible idea, by the way. Even in the winter months, with places like Top Golf and indoor type places opening up all around the country, it's there's plenty of ways to keep the swing moving, keep the body going, and even if you're not playing golf, not able to actually get out on the course, and with that is kind of get to the point of talking about, well, if you are heading out, getting ready for your spring ventures here, and hitting balls, hitting the old range, which everybody typically does. It's kind of the first step. What are you actually going to do with it? This is kind of one of the cornerstones, one of the basic things that I feel like is left out more often than not when it comes to getting back to going again. Now, that being said, we kind of have to approach this from understanding. Okay, well, you got about roughly two, maybe three groups of golfers that kind of exist out there. You got real serious, very focused, high level, low handicap, tournament playing type style, professional even, but we'll leave that on another. We're going to stick to recreational amateurs. Then you kind of have the ones that play fairly often and pretty good. Not necessarily with a lot of goals in mind, though, or changes, or trying to see some massive shift in how they play, but still want to be competitive enough to play with the regular group, right? Or they're foursome on the weekend. They're two best ball type setup and whatnot, and then you got kind of everybody else is just kind of what I occasional golfer and play for fun with family, and so anyways, so part of it is only going to relate to group one the most. Group two, it should, but they're probably not going to take it that serious is the problem. And then group three, very much less, because they haven't gotten to the point where there's this driving force in them to like figure it out. As you get into this game and get going, and you start to kind of see and feel and hear and understand that there are other levels. When that bug bites, that's when you transform. You go to one group to the other, and for those of us that had dreams and plans of someday silliness playing on the tour, yeah, right, and we still go about our business today. Even for me, even though I've had a long career in teaching golf and have worked with thousands of players and looked at thousands of swings, and that doesn't mean that I've accomplished nearly anything that I've set out to do, for the most part, because it's really hard. That's part of the problem. It's just a hard, difficult thing to do. There's no such thing as perfect in golf. Yesterday, Xander was chatting, and he even said himself, he's like, hitting the ball really good on the range and kind of finally starting to feel like I can accomplish what I want. Seriously. And then he talks about his round. And he's like, I'm out there kind of fighting and grinding, and I just, I didn't trust it. That's a big word right there. He didn't trust what he knew he could do on the range while in the middle of a tournament trying to win the Players' Championship. Just, wow. Let that sink in for a minute, because if he's putting in the kind of time and effort that he does and has accomplished so much up to this point, and he's in the situation that he dreams and plans for and still can't trust it, I mean, it makes it so much less likely for us as well, who can't put in that kind of time, who can't live a life of golf and get paid to play and practice, to insane hours. So the goal is this, okay? If you're heading out, you're getting ready for your springtime activities, getting to the range, get back and going. Again, don't take the entire winter off. That's your already misstep there. I don't care what level player you are. Just do something in the winter. I don't care what it is, but something. We'll get back to that. But here's where I want to go with this today. We have, for sure, at least figured out that the way you put in your time is so important, meaning quality. I'm not even looking for people. I don't have 3 hours to hit balls all day. You're right. Great. I don't want you doing that anyways. You're probably not capable of concentrating for 3 hours in the first place. Let's find 15 minutes, 30 minutes of really good quality time. And whatever you're doing, especially on the range, the most important part is it's got to mean something. It's got to be measurable to some degree so that we can actually evaluate what it is you're accomplishing or trying to do or whatever. So whatever it is, you take out your 7-iron, that's your favorite club. You pick a target. Well, we want to figure something out with that. If you hit 200 balls, let's say, in 30 minutes, I don't know, whatever it is for you, 100 balls, whatever, 50 balls, and you pick a target, what percentage of the shots were different ball flights? Let's say you're a typical slight draw guy. How many times did you push it to the right? How many times did you overdraw it back to the left? And how many times were basically kind of that pattern of shot you were looking for? Those percentages are very important to know and understand. Second, in relation to target, and you won't be able to do this perfectly, I get that, but just guesstimate it as best you can. If it's 140 yards out, whatever you're hitting to, I don't care what the distance is, it doesn't matter. How many of the shots, let's say landed within, I don't know, use a proximity. Let's say, for the sake of being today, 40 feet. How many are inside the circle? How many are outside the circle? Again, measurability. That means a lot and tells us a lot about where you're at and sets us up to be able to determine what should you do next. And if you can do that throughout your bag, say your wedges, say your mid-irons, your long irons, and your woods, start there at first. You don't have to do every single club. You ain't going to have time to do it anyways. But find out where you're at within your range of shots and abilities. Measure it. Figure out what's good, what's bad, what needs to get worked on. The measurability defines and puts purpose behind what you're doing. Because if you're just out there on the range and you're that typical, just what we call the machine gunner, just hitting ball, you're not doing anything. I mean, you're getting your body moving. Okay, fine. But there's no purpose there. There's no realistic aspect into what you're trying to accomplish. And without that measurability, without that importance built into your time, I mean, honestly, you just hit balls in a net at home and do the same thing. You don't need a range. You don't need to spend $6 on a bucket of balls or whatever it is in your part of the world. And yeah. So make your time count. Okay, it's so important. And there's lots of ways to do it. You can create all kinds of different ways on a range to do things. I got people all the time. They come over and ask me, "Well, wait, what are you doing? You hit the ball pretty good most part, but you just missed like 3 in a row." Yeah, I'm like, "Well, I was trying something different." They're like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was trying to make the ball do something totally different. I totally failed at it. Didn't even come close." You get all the weird looks in there. Because they don't understand. They're not in that realm yet. They haven't developed into that type of a player. They haven't come across, understanding, okay, if we're trying to learn and develop things, you're going to miss hit a lot of shots. If you're not, you're just doing what you're already capable of. And that's just a whole nother segment that we'll get to. But make your time matter. There's the first thing of the day. It's so important. And if you have a coach, right, or if you have an instructor already, and you're not using measurability, I'd be the first one over there asking, why aren't we measuring things. I have an entire custom stat sheet that I give to my players every year, every two times a year, sorry, or maybe sometimes 3 times a year. We'll go through it and we'll remeasure and make sure where we at, what are we capable of, what are we not. I call it the strength, weakness, business term, SWOT analysis, opportunity, threat. Anyways, doesn't matter. We go through it and figure out what are we good, what are we not so good at. Where do we have opportunity to improve and increase and practice with measurability and accountability to get better? That's the name of the game right there. Again, Group 1, 100%. A lot of them are already there. Maybe they're not doing it right, though. That's where I come into play. Maybe I look at it and I say, yeah, you're focused on the wrong things here. We need to shift the focus. Middle group definitely is not doing it near enough. Nowhere near enough. And you should, because if you're going to put in the time, you might as well do it right? That's where you got to come see me. I helped you out with that. So, wanted to kind of give that little, gleam into this time of the year. It's the common thing that I like to cover and start talking about more. A couple other things. I'm getting ready to begin a process of partnered up with a local indoor golf facility, the Golf Pub, and great place. Can't wait to get started there. Saturday's going to be great. Get to introduce myself to a bunch of people. Kind of introduce the difference in what I do versus maybe some others that are out there that do it a little bit differently. Nothing wrong with that. Just we all got our own way. That's how this works in the golf biz. Anyways, one of the things I came across, I can't believe how old this thing is. And by the way, sorry for how old it is, but it just is what it is. One of the greatest instructors I ever got to know. When I was first hired at Golf Tech, almost, 20 years ago almost? I don't remember. A long time ago. And, it was in the beginning stages. Golf Tech wasn't near as big as it is today. And, to me, it was the perfect transition out of the, classic. I worked at private high-end country clubs for years, and it was fun. I enjoyed it, but I kind of ready to move on. And anyhow, went up to Chicago and got started with them and came across a fella, and he's still with them. I believe he's a city manager up in, is it Michigan? He's from Michigan, I think. Anyways, doesn't matter. Ian, he's a great guy. Anyways, one of the things he kept in his bays, and I stole the idea, was an old golf article that showed all these players. Look at there. And the question we always gave people was like, here's the thing. You got all kinds of players. You got Tiger up there. You got, I think, Sari Pox down there somewhere. And, in the Zubiak, the power hitter, long drive guy. You got lots of differences here. All kinds of differences. If you can't hear me. And, anyways, but the question becomes, we got a lot of variances, but even though there's a lot of differences, what are they all doing the same? Or basically the same, anyways. And that's really the premise. We know without a doubt, especially from the years of study that we have with better technology, whether it's video, whether it's mocap, whether it's gear system, you can take it to all kinds of levels. But that's the basis of understanding how to really help people, folks. It don't mean we're trying to make tour professionals. Man, I heard that's only that. I don't want to be no tour pro. Guess what? You ain't going to be. It ain't that easy. But the idea is this. There are more things that all the great players do basically the same than what they don't do the same. And there's reasons for it. And so when you get set up and come on down and get started with me, one of the first things we do is what's called the evaluation lesson. Because I got to know where you're at, where do you want to be, what are you currently doing. And once we kind of understand how you swing a golf club and hit that little white ball, then we can actually develop a plan and figure out what has to happen in order to get to where you want to be. And it's based off the premise of, look, there's a way to do it the best. Doesn't mean you have to do it 100% that way. But if you're missing things, we know that's a huge issue. Let's focus on that. Let's fix that. Let's get that better. Let's get that to the best it can be. And then let's understand why, because that's the other part that drives me nuts. Why are you doing what you're doing? I ask this players all the time. They tell me, hey, can you look at this thing? And why are you even paying attention to that? Oh, I don't know. I watched something on YouTube. I'm like, oh man, I know. I'm on YouTube. I get it. But it's like, yeah, but that don't affect you. That's not important for you right now. You need to focus on the things that matter to you. So that's what we do in that first session, the evaluation. So that helps us figure out what's missing, what needs to take place, how do we get you to your goals. Then we're able to create the proper sessions of development and practice and to get you to learn those skills. And then we get back to the first part. Let's go out. Let's make our time useful on the range and not waste our time, even when it's only a little bit of time that we get. Don't be going out and putting 3 hours in. First of all, if you don't do 3 hours on a regular basis, you're going to wear yourself out anyways and not even be thinking properly half the time. So it's a waste of time. Do it proper. Let's figure out what you got to do too. So last little shout out. I was going through all kinds of files and I came across something really cool. I was lucky, hired out of college. One of my mentors, he hired me at a really amazing golf club back in Kansas City called Wolf Creek. And anyhow, this guy, Jeff, is his name, and I learned a lot from him, man. Unbelievable amount of stuff. But one of the cool things I came across in his background, he used to be at old Pinehurst. And him and a couple of his guys down there, I don't remember who all was what. He was a director of instruction, and he oversaw 2 or 3 of the courses down there, and I can't remember the super details. He'd have to give them. But anyways, he was a big part in developing what is their golf school, the Golf Advantage. And I just so happen to have a copy of it. I like to look at it from time to time. And, it's pretty old stuff. I mean, this goes back into the 70s, 80s, some even beyond. But, it's this kind of stuff is good to go back over because there's a lot of this stuff that, I've read probably 10 or 12 times. I don't know if you can see it. Doesn't matter. That's the basis of their golf school. And I'm lucky to have it. But anyways, when you go over these things, not just as a student player, but as a teacher, we forget a lot of this stuff. And it's important to know where we've come from, to get to where we are today. Because, we got a lot more stuff available to us. TrackMans and Hack Motion Golf, for input measurement and gear system if you're lucky enough, which most of you aren't. Trust me, I'm not either. I don't have it. I don't have most of this technology. It's expensive. It's hard to gain access to. And so finding a way to learn from it, however, big important thing, well, for my job, so that I can sit there with you, whether it's down at the golf pub or over here at the, local range and try to figure out, okay, well, I know all this stuff, but how do I get this player to learn it in an easy way and not have to worry about, well, what's my angle of attack and what's my path and what's my my job. Let me figure that part out. I got to figure out what you've got to do in order to change and get to where you want to be. So it's that time of the year. Everybody's about to start popping out on those ranges, and I just want to make sure we're all prepared, ready to go. So that being said, throw me some comments in. I will absolutely get to those and respond. Ask me any questions you can. Most importantly, smash that like button. Come on now, you can do it. And share. Hit that share button too. Share it with the World Wide Web out there on the Twitterverse. Get that information out there to people. I would greatly appreciate it. And then subscribe to the channel. That way you know when I post something, right? Okay, let's do that too. But anyways, the Twitter is P45KDG, so at P45KDG. And then email. You can email me as well. I'm glad to answer any questions. It's at P45 Knuckle Down Golf, all one word, @gmail.com. So, as always, we'll talk to you later, folks. Take care.